Well, the cowboy you're about to meet is a calf roper with 30 years' experience in the rodeo. He's still in the saddle, and now he's even cutting a country album. But not long ago, doctors expected him to die. Here's what happened.
For 30 years, Jim Custer rode the professional rodeo circuit. As a calf roper, Jim always knew rodeo was a dangerous sport. But he never thought he'd see the day when the sport in which he made his living threatened to take his life.
I ran up and roped the steer. My horse was a young horse and not too well schooled, and I kind of stepped out in my right stirrup to get my slack, and he felt me shift my weight, and he just started bucking and turned off to the left, and I went straight. And I lit right on top of my head, almost straight down.
Jim broke 6 vertebrae in his neck, C1 through C6. He was rushed to the community hospital, and there Jim's wife Dixie was told her husband's outlook was grim.
They told me that he was in intensive care, that he had broken 1 through 6 on the vertebrae, and the number one is the hangman's break, which is what the doctors call it, because it was in the old days when they hung a person by the neck, that's what killed him, was the breaking of number 1. And they told me they didn't expect him to live at all.
Jim kept breathing, and he eventually stabilized, but he had no feeling from his neck down. Doctors were happy Jim made it through the night, but that was the last of the good news.
When you have a spinal cord injury, you're paralyzed. There is not recovery. The nerves and the central nervous system do not regrow.
I really didn't expect that he would ever have the use of his arms and legs again.
Thoughts of rodeo were far from Jim's mind. He was now busy fighting the battle of his life. As part of standard procedure, the hospital called in a psychiatrist to help him accept the fact that he would be handicapped for the rest of his life.
She would tell Jim, you're never going to walk again. You do realize that, don't you? Jim said, no, I don't realize that, because we're Christians. We believe in God. That's great, that's great. She said, we have got to figure out who you hate, because hate is a real big factor in a situation like this. She'd tell him. She'd say, do you hate your horse? And Jim said, no, I don't hate my horse. Do you hate God? No, I don't hate God. Well, who do you hate? Jim said, I really don't hate anyone. I've never hated anyone. But I'm really getting a little tired of you.
2.5 months passed without Jim's moving even a finger, but he never lost his faith or determination. Day by day, feeling returned to his body. It was enough to move him from the bed to the wheelchair, but not enough to return him to the life he once had.
I just was believing that the Lord would do a miracle in my life, and I was in His hands at the time, and I just went on faith.
Push, 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 up, up. Lock your knees now.
Jim's faith was crucial as he faced months of intense physical therapy, but it paid off. Jim's therapist was astounded by his recovery.
The history that I saw of his injury, the type of paralysis, the length of time he was paralyzed, was very extensive. And then to begin moving and begin recovering, it was just amazing. It was incredible. When he really could have been a man in bed with just a body that didn't function and a head on top of a body, and so it was a miracle.
The miracle didn't end there. Walking was one thing, but the jarring effect of riding a horse was another. Jim continued to defy medical standards, and today he's back in the saddle again.
My wife and I just rode up the river here, and we just praised God all the way that we actually got to see a miracle in our lives.
Many would view being paralyzed and months confined to a wheelchair as a tremendous setback, especially for someone who was on the rodeo circuit. But Jim says that injury is exactly what he needed.
I can actually say that this accident was the best thing that ever happened to me in my life.
How?
I got to see a miracle firsthand, and I learned patience.
What Jim learned, he loves to share with others, not only in word, but in song.
Where the morning is bright and the Lamb is the light and the night is as fair as the day.
To go from over 2 months of total paralysis to functioning every day and to getting up on a horse and moving is just incredible. It's amazing.
Change from this creature that I am. Oh, yes.
I don't understand. You know, I guess even as a Christian, why does he do that? I mean, where does this massive love come from that he would spread it around to a person that's truly not worthy of it at all? And we weren't. But he loved us. He blessed us.
There ain't no sadness, no sorrow.
He's a real miracle, no question about that. A living, walking, breathing miracle.